Here are solutions to quiz 8 for Math 251. We're given this function here and asked to find the critical values of the function. Okay, the way we'll figure that out is figure out what the derivative is. Just need to use power rule here. The derivative of x to the 2/3 is 2/3 x to the negative 1/3. And the derivative of 2/5 x to the 5/3 is 2/5 times 5/3 times x to the 2/3, which simplifies to 2 over 3x, 3x to the 1/3, minus, I guess the 5's cancel out, and we get 2 over 3x, 2 times x to the 2/3 over 3. So f prime of x is this. We want to know when f prime of x equals 0 or when f prime of x is undefined. Let's see, f prime of x undefined. It would be undefined if we ever divide by 0. We divide by 0 if x equals 0. So if x equals 0. F prime of x equals 0. That would be if 2 over 3x to the 1/3 minus 2x to the 2/3 over 3 equals 0. See, I guess we could add this over to the other side and multiply both sides by 3/2. Is that too much to do in one step? And we can get 1 over x to the 1/3 equals x to the 2/3 over 1 if you want. So I added this over to the right hand side, and then I multiplied both sides by 3/2 to get rid of this 2/3 and this 2/3. That gets me to here. And now if I multiply both sides by x to the 1/3, I get 1 equals x. So I get my solution here, that f prime of x equals 0 and x equals 1. So my critical values are when x equals 0 or when x equals 1. Of your answers to part A, take the largest one, x equals 1, and use the second derivative test to classify it as either a local min or a local max. Okay, to second derivative test, we need to know what the second derivative is. The second derivative is the derivative of this thing. So let's see, we'll bring the negative 1. So we got 2/3 times negative 1/3 x to the, if you subtract 1 from this, you get negative 4/3. And then from that we want to subtract, we got 2/3, then we bring this 2/3 down, so that times 2/3 times x to the negative 1/3 if you subtract 1 from 2/3. So this messes our second derivative. We can simplify it a little bit and call it negative 2/9, maybe negative 2 over 9x to the 4/3, and this is negative 4 over 9x to the 1/3. So here is our second derivative. What we need to know is when x equals 1, is this thing positive or negative? Let's see, this would be negative 2/9 minus 4/9, which is certainly less than 0. So by second derivative test, x equals 1 is a local maximum. Kind of the idea is the derivative equals 0, so it's flat, and the second derivative is negative, so it's kind of decreasing like that. You get this point right here, and you get a local maximum. Okay, what and where is the absolute minimum and absolute maximum values that this function obtains on this interval? Okay, so what we got to do is check our critical values. And endpoints. Let's see, so that is our critical values were at 0 and negative 1 and, wait, negative 1? No, positive 1. These are critical values, and our endpoints are negative 1 and 8. And what we got to do is plug that into our original function to see what's the biggest. F of x is x to the 2/3 minus 2/5 x to the 5/3. Okay, it's going to be a little bit annoying, but fortunately these points should all work out nicely. Maybe I'll switch colors finally. Let's first figure out f of 0. F of 0, we'd have 0 minus 2/5 of 0, which is 0. About f of 1. F of 1, we'd have 1 minus 2/5 of 1, which is 3/5. Alright, halfway there, f of -1. And we'd have -1 to the 2/3. Will end up being 1, but I'll show it. Minus 2/5, -1 to the 5/3. See, -1 to the 2/3 means square -1 and then take its cubed root. Square it, you get +1. Cubed root of +1 is +1. -1 to the 5th power is still -1, and the cubed root of -1 is -1. So what we get is 1 minus -2/5. And 1 minus a negative is the same as 1 plus 2/5. 5/5 and 2/5 is 7/5. And then one more to do. What color should I use here? Let's go back to blue. We need to figure out what f of 8 is. Okay, 8 to the 2/3 minus 2/5, 8 to the 5/3. The cubed root of 8 is 2. So this is 2 squared minus 2/5 times 2 to the 5th. By taking the cubed root of 8, we've taken care of these 3's here. 2 squared is 4. 4 minus 2/5 times 2 to the 5th is 32. Is what? 4 minus, well, that's not 32 squared, that's just 32. Kind of running out of room here. 4 minus 32 times 2 is 64/5. We need a common denominator. Maybe let's go this way. That's 16/5, or sorry, 16/4. No, I need 5ths. 20/5 minus 64/5 is equal to -44/5. So okay, now we got to look at these 4 values, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and decide which is the least. The smallest value here is this -44/5. So we'll say absolute minimum is -44/5. Maybe absolute minimum occurs at, let me reword this, occurs at x equals 8 and is equal to is of -44/5, and absolute max occurs at, let's see, of these, the biggest one, 7/5. Looks like 7/5 is bigger than 3/5, bigger than 0. So it occurs at -1 and is of 7/5. So this down here is the information we need for our final answer. And that is the end of this quiz.